UFC 163 went down last night. The big matchup, of course, was a not a heavyweight matchup. It was for a change they're pushing the lighter guys, which is interesting.
That's correct. Featherweights, the 145 pounders. Jose Aldo retains his title once again. Another TKO victory for Aldo. The Korean Zombie was putting out a pretty good fight until his shoulder popped out in the 4th round, and he really couldn't continue after that. Aldo, he saw blood. He was like a shark tasting the blood in the water. He just started kicking the dude's shoulder and punching him in the shoulder. He saw that shoulder pop out, and he was like, that is my new target, and he beat down the Zombie pretty quickly after that. I was really impressed with the killer instinct of Jose Aldo, who, by the way, broke his foot about 2 minutes into the fight and was able to keep it going into the 4th.
And use that foot to kick the shoulder?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I've had a broken foot before. It's brutal. I couldn't imagine fighting like Aldo did.
Now, did he get it frozen in between rounds?
No, you can't do that. It's just the adrenaline pumping, and he knew, look, if I say I can't go anymore because my foot's busted, I lose my title.
Wow.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep on fighting, and he wound up winning, so good for him.
Game points here on TSN 690. But overall, was the fight kind of anticlimactic? You got a guy with a broken foot and a guy with a popped-out shoulder. I mean, was it competitive enough for your liking?
Yeah, it was a pretty competitive fight for the first couple of rounds. 3rd round was, I think, the most competitive. The Zombie looked like he was getting some edge there, but it wasn't the fight that everybody was really looking forward to. That was the co-main event, and that fight didn't really deliver, so not the best finish to a night. That, a few nice fights on there, a few good fights, but maybe not the best UFC card. And Lyoto Machida, Phil Davis going to a decision. Pretty much everybody thought Lyoto Machida won the fight. I had him winning 30-27 all 3 rounds. All 3 judges, though, scoring it for Phil Davis, 29-28. Nobody understands that decision. Everybody's just like, what?
What did Dana White say afterwards?
He wasn't there. He wasn't in Brazil, so we're still waiting on the president
his comments.
of UFC.
No tweets? No Dana White tweets about what happened?
No, I don't think he tweeted about the decision last night. Everyone
looks to him, right? I mean, afterwards, when things like that happen, it's the first thing you probably think in your mind is, I wonder what Dana White's going to say in the presser.
Because what he says kind of goes, right? But it just seemed obvious that Machida won that fight. The first round, Machida was totally in control, landed the majority of the shots. If you look at the numbers on the fight, who landed punches, who landed significant strikes, all the numbers go in favor of Lyoto Machida. So it really doesn't make any kind of sense that the judges scored it for Phil Davis.
Well, here's a tweet.
What did Dana White tweet?
Dana White 19 hours ago said, "Wow, I had Machida winning all 3 rounds, but that's what happens when you leave it up to the judges."
Yeah, and that is what happens. The first round, towards the end of the round, Davis landed a takedown, and I guess the judges scored it that way. Scored the round for Davis. The second round, he landed a takedown at the end of it as well. And 2 of the 3 judges scored the first and second for Davis. One judge scored, I think, the first and third for Davis, and the third going to Phil Davis made absolutely no sense. So just weird judging overall. And Dana White scored it for Lyoto Machida. I scored it for Machida. Everybody else on Twitter last night was scoring it for Machida. The commentator scored it for Machida. The only people that didn't were the 3 judges cage side, and it was weird too because it was in Brazil, and Machida's the home crowd favorite, and he lost the fight.
The judges, were they of international?
Yeah, they're from different places.
Yeah.
So it's not Brazilian judges.
All right. Well, also on Twitter yesterday, Dana White mentioning Parosh. Who's that?
He's a man who knocked out Vinny Magalhães in like 10 seconds yesterday. Anthony Paroch. He's 41 years old.
Wow. He said, Dana White, that he was a 5-1 underdog and 25-1 to win by KO.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. It was just
this is just
crazy.
A late bloomer who got lucky, or what's the story here?
Yeah, it was kind of a lucky punch, I think. I think that's pretty much it. He landed the proper punch that he needed to land on Vinny Magalhães. And obviously, Vinny's chin is not great. I mean, it was tested quick. Paroch landed a heavy right hand that dropped him. Hammer fist finished him. 14 seconds. I don't know what it was. Maybe he didn't warm up properly. Maybe his chin is just weak. Maybe Paroch just landed the perfect shot. When a fight ends in 14 seconds, it's kind of a lucky shot, right? I mean, it's 14 seconds. It's not like he trained to end it in 14 seconds. He landed the punch, it happened to connect, and the dude went down, so he won.
So coming off of this win, I mean, this isn't really news? Is the guy he beats not really a contender?
No.
Or
Neither of these guys are top 15, I would say, even in the world.
So this is
not
kind
even
of
I would
a
say,
reach that they made the card then, basically?
Yeah. I mean, this was not the most stacked card as far as top fighters in the world. You had Phil Davis and Lyoto Machida in the co-main event. They're two of the best at 205 pounds. You had Aldo and Chan Sung Jung in the main event. They're two of the best at 145. But the rest of the card, a lot of Brazilians getting a shot to fight in front of their hometown. It's their home crowd, rather. It's not necessarily the best fighters in the world that we saw last night.
All right. Anything else to stand out at you in terms of being impressive?
I mean, not particularly. Cesar Mutanch, he got a first-round guillotine submission victory over Thiago Santos. This guy won Ultimate Fighter Brazil back in June of last year and hadn't fought since, so it's good to see this guy, just 28 years old from Brazil, come back and get a victory.
What heavyweight, or rather which
middleweight
category? That's a middleweight?
Yeah, he's a 185-pounder. Sergio Moraes got a beautiful triangle choke. He mounted the dude, went for the mounted triangle, went to his back to finish, and then went back up into the mount to finish the triangle. Just beautiful Brazilian jiu-jitsu from Sergio Moraes to submit Neo Magny 3-13 into the first round, and it was enough to earn him the submission of the night. Very impressive stuff.
Mo, now what are you talking about with what grading? What's the story here that you
tradition,
do,
unlike any other now with Dave Simon here on Game Points. At the end of each card that you will recap with him every Sunday evening, you ask him, Dave, what grade would you give for the UFC card last night in Brazil?
Like a letter grade he's talking about.
Like an A minus.
What did I give last time? A minus?
You gave a B.
A B.
That's like a B minus.
I think this is like a C plus card.
All right. Interesting. All right. Now, moving forward, Dave, what's the next big event? What's the latest news on anything, really?
The next big event, I think, is going to be an A-plus card. It's UFC Fight Night. They're going to be kicking off the first ever day on UFC on Fox Sports 1. It's the kickoff for the channel. That's there, right, Fox Sports 1, and they have a hell of a card. They've got Shogun against Chael Sonnen in the main event. They've got Alistair Overeem against Travis Brown in the co-main event. Uriah Faber, Yuri Alcantara, Matt Brown, and Mike Pyle. Joe Lozon against Michael Johnson. A stacked card there. Pay-per-view caliber. Even better, I think, than the pay-per-view that we saw last night on free TV on August 17th. So in a couple of weeks' time now, we'll see a great, great card on Fox Sports 1.
All right. So, Mo, do we pre-grade cards as well?
No.
Okay.
No. Only post-grades.
That would just be silly, right?
Yeah, that'd be awful.
Yeah. All right. Just checking.
That'd be awful.
And any news coming out of the the GSP camp about what's next for him?
Yeah, well, we know what's next for him. He's going to be fighting Johnny Hendricks November 16th. They were actually in Montreal, Complex Desjardins this week. I'm glad you read my emails that I sent out to the radio station.
I did read emails. My ex-teammate Mike Ricci.
I know he's fighting Johnny Hendricks. Who won a fight to fight St. Pierre. I'm well aware of that. But in terms of nothing's happening, no injuries in training, nothing like that.
No, they are both training. I mean, they're not in their training camps. That starts really about 8 weeks out from the fight, but they're training, they're getting ready, and they're preparing. Right now, they're really doing the media tour. Hendricks and GSP, as I said, were at Complex Desjardins this week. I spoke with Johnny Hendricks. He's in good spirits. He's ready to go. And, the fight's going down November 16th in Vegas, UFC 167. It's the 20th anniversary show for the UFC.
All right, and did you give Hendricks a shot here?
Yeah, for sure. You got to give him a shot. I mean, it's a fight game. Anything can happen in the octagon. Obviously, GSP is going to be looked at as the favorite. His wrestling, his striking, his athleticism, he's amazing. But Johnny Hendricks is a guy that's been mowing through opponents, knocking people out. He's got very heavy hands. And I think if you're going to beat GSP, that's the most likely way to do it. I don't think you're going to out-wrestle the guy. You're not going to submit the guy. If you're going to beat GSP, you're going to do it like Matt Serra did, and you're going to knock him out. Now, very tough to do. Many guys have tried. Carlos Condit is the closest guy, is the guy that's come closest, I think, in the past few years since Matt Serra. but Johnny Hendricks has a shot at knocking him out. He's got one-punch knockout power, which you really don't see a lot in the UFC welterweight division, so that one-punch knockout power is very dangerous for GSP. Will he be able to land that one punch? I don't know.